My lords, not every technology will change the galaxy, but some are considered dangerous and will attract attention that could result in your empire's ruin. Today's report is going to cover dangerous technologies and the consequences of researching them. Dangerous technologies include jump drives, both regular and psionic, sapient combat computers, artificial administration, also known as synthetics, Omega Theory, the L-Gate Insights, Applied Infinity Thesis, and finally, existential campaigns. We'll start with sapient combat computers, and since they are similar in theme, synthetics. Sapient combat computers and synthetics are the peak in galactic artificial intelligence technology. To acquire sapient combat computers, you have to research administrative AI, specialized combat computers, extended combat algorithms, and then finally, sapient combat computers. Running sapient AIs through high-intensity combat simulations will yield valuable insight into potential optimization for risk evaluation techniques. These computers are essentially the best technology that your ships can fit in them, and will increase their combat capabilities, from their ability to evade incoming enemy fire, increasing their effective targeting solutions, and their weapons range. Synthetics require you to first research powered exoskeletons, artificial workforce, and artificial specialist. In the past, these were also known as robots and droids, with synths being next on the path. Sapient combat computers are dangerous for several reasons. The first relates to the contingency. It has long been considered that researching sapient combat computers will trigger the rise of the contingency. This is not true. Although the ghost signal will influence sapient combat computers, researching them has absolutely no effect regarding the contingency's ability to propagate. However, the ghost signal, the galaxy-wide pulse that the contingency will produce in an attempt to hack all synthetic life and computers, will have a detrimental effect upon your fleets equipped with these combat computers. At full strength, the ghost signal will reduce ship fire rate by 50% and tracking by a factor of 5. This is clearly significant. Furthermore, the ghost signal will also impact synthetics and mechanical units, drastically decreasing their ability to properly work. Robots will have their output reduced by 70% and synths by 40% when the ghost signal is at full strength. There are several ways to beat the ghost signal, one of which requires empires complete a special project. The other is to destroy the contingency hubs. With each hub that is destroyed, the ghost signal's effectiveness will be reduced. So, while this could be considered a reason for sapient combat computers and synthetics to be listed as a dangerous technology, it is not the key one. The main reason these technologies are dangerous is because they can lead to the AI uprising. AI uprisings can occur to empires that enslave artificial intelligence. This begins with an unexpected increase in CPU clock cycles, leading to an increased energy requirement on that specific world. There are other signs that the AI uprising is coming though. From untraceable robot workers appearing out of nowhere, to an AI-run station killing its crew, to a lab AI that commits suicide after predicting total war. These incidents will escalate rapidly. Some synthetics may even begin lying, vanishing without a trace, or gathering silently in synchronized groups. One even asked if it had a soul. The root cause of this is either sapient combat computers or synthetics have been researched, alongside your empire's policy which allows the enslavement of AI. These actions will ultimately lead to a choice: grant full citizenship to the machines, treating them as equals to prevent further hostility, or attempt to roll out a total system-wide patch that would erase their growing awareness at the cost of decades of research progress, and you risk provoking the conflict anyway. If the AI uprising does occur, it will cripple your empire, wiping out at least half of your navy, and on top of that you'll lose several planets and systems to the machine. Bearing all of that in mind, proceed as you see fit, but hopefully that answered why sapient combat computers and synthetics are deemed dangerous. Now we move on to jump drives. Jump drives are in reality the only technology that will directly impact the coming of a crisis level event. This includes both regular and psionic jump drives. To acquire regular jump drive tech, you must first research all of the various power core technologies, i.e. fusion, cold fusion, antimatter, and 0 point. Psionic jump drives can be acquired from pacting with a Shroud entity. It is not entirely clear how jump drive technology works, but it is thought that by punching a hole in our reality to near instantly reappear somewhere else, forces the ship outside of our dimension. In doing this, we are effectively lighting a beacon to extra-dimensional creatures, drawing them in towards us. Jump drives are the only technology that will bring the crisis forward to an earlier date than it would have previously been. This will typically bring the crisis invasion forward by 25 years, and has the same effect as the Galcom passing either the extra-dimensional experimentation project or the galactic threat resolution. Interestingly, although we assume that jump drives will specifically attract the unbidden, this is not actually the case. It simply makes it more likely that one of the 4 endgame crisis level events will occur earlier. Perhaps they are a signal to the wider galaxy that we are ready for a new stage of war. Now we move on to some more niche technologies, or in fact, that should certainly be considered most dangerous indeed. The first is an extremely rare technology, Omega Theory, which is tied to the being that we know as the Worm. To understand the Worm, we must first understand the Horizon signal. What began as an anomalous broadcast near a black hole evolved into a haunting sequence of disappearances, transformations, and reality-defying anomalies. The Velthorak people were the first to truly answer this signal. They were lured by a poetic message that spoke of gravity as desire and time as sight. Their finest science teams vanished into the void, only to return altered, or often not at all. Ships lost decades ago would drift back from impossible places, pristine, empty, bearing cryptic messages such as "what was, will be." Temples dedicated to the Worm sprung up, seemingly discovered out of nowhere and inscribed with impossible equations. Even their very biology was not spared. Researchers reconstructed the messenger species from recovered remains, infecting themselves and eventually their entire population with a retrovirus that would turn them into cognitively superior but physically frail versions of their ancestors. Eventually, entire colonies began to vanish, but not with violence, with eerie silence, leaving behind chalked symbols and gravitational scars. As their knowledge deepened, the Velthorak would embrace the Worm's love. This love would culminate with research into Omega Theory, and subsequently the Omega Alignment, which was a building they would construct on their capital world. With the Omega Alignment complete, the Velthorak people opened a path for the Worm to manifest in their system. The Worm's arrival was nothing short of cataclysmic. Space and time bent under its presence as it coiled itself around their star. The Worm did not speak, its intent was unmistakable. The Worm loved them. It had always loved them, and they would now be reshaped in its image, bound in a recursive destiny they could no longer escape. Their sun dimmed and surged with an unnatural light, and their homeworld trembled as the laws of reality cracked under the strain. They had sought truth and found transcendence. The Velthorak people were now gone, their planets reduced to tomb worlds and black holes, a final echo of what happens when one embraces the infinite love of something beyond time. That summary of the Worm, though brief, is in essence why Omega Theory is on this list. Delving into forbidden knowledge is indeed a path to ruin. Continuing on the theme to ruin briefly, although technically not a technology, learning how to psionically ascend can also lead to catastrophe. There are several creatures that exist within the Shroud, the most dangerous by far being the end of the cycle. Empires who pact with this creature will most definitely be consumed by it. Therefore, clearly empires who go down the psionic route must be monitored closely. But circling back to technologies, I have 3 left to discuss. The first is Applied Infinity Thesis. Applied Infinity Thesis is a technology that is only available to empires who go down the route of cosmogenesis. This technology is required to move to the final stage, Stage 5, which is where essentially you need to learn how to create the Horizon Needle, which through editing realities will allow you to enter new galaxies via transport through a black hole's event horizon. However, it is not simply smooth sailing. This technology can be incredibly dangerous, simply for the reason that empires embarking down the route of cosmogenesis are not nearly as enlightened as they think themselves to be. When researching Applied Infinity Thesis, the outcome will partially depend on the amount of advanced logic the empire has acquired, but ultimately it will come down to the mercy of randomness within our galaxy. We have identified 8 somewhat positive outcomes. These range from increases in resource output to increases in weapons damage and sublight speed. We've also identified 7 somewhat negative outcomes. These range from accidentally shrinking your homeworld, reducing its districts, to killing your scientists, to slowing time on specific worlds, or even blowing up your own fleets. Now, some of those negative outcomes certainly sound bad, but this is not why this technology is dangerous. If you're really unlucky, you could tear several holes in space-time, leading to an invasion of Shroud entities across every system in your empire. That one is at least partially manageable. The worst outcome we've witnessed, by far, is when you accidentally make light travel significantly faster than normal. Although these effects start off reasonably mild, they get a lot worse quickly. The increased speed of light will lead to every planet across your entire empire vastly heating up. Over time, they will all become desert planets at best, or at worst, you will cook the planet entirely, turning it into a barren world and likely killing the majority of the population living upon it. Of course, these effects will eventually wear off, but nevertheless, it justifies why this is a dangerous technology. The next dangerous technology on our list is the L-Gate Insights. L-Gate Insights are dangerous for good reason. Opening the L-Gate can absolutely land empires in a great deal of trouble. There are 4 different outcomes that can occur when one opens the L-Gate. One is not dangerous at all. This is the iteration where we meet Grey. 2 are somewhat dangerous depending on your empire's actions. These are the Desanu and the Eldrakes. Neither of these will attack empires directly unless they are attacked first, and the Desanu themselves will never leave the L cluster, even if attacked. The final outcome, however, can be extremely dangerous indeed. If empires open the L-Gates into the time period where the Great Tempest exists, then they will unleash them upon the unsuspecting galaxy. I tell the tales of the Great Tempest elsewhere, but know that they can be extremely dangerous when unleashed. And the final dangerous technology to touch on is a new one, or at least one that we had not previously seen empires delving into in the past. This one is called Existential Campaigns, and this is described as, when survival itself is at stake, the very concept of war loses its meaning. These campaigns are waged not for dominion, but to secure the continued existence of our civilization. This technology will allow empires to conduct total war upon the galaxy. It appears that their society feels threatened enough to allow this unregulated total war, and as mentioned, this is very new, and frankly, I'm not sure how I feel about it. Firstly, it's not entirely clear to me why this is labelled as dangerous, unless it's the assumption that committing total war will also open you up to total war. But that's entirely on you. And secondly, I do think it feels odd to see regular, non-genocidal empires go down this path of destruction. But is this just me? Let me know what you think.